Welcome to Economic News Desk. For July 2026, we are tracking three massive shifts reshaping global markets: a multi-billion-dollar energy corridor in West Africa, a major legal roadblock for one of Hollywood's biggest mergers, and a high-stakes financial standoff facing the United Kingdom's water utility sector. We begin in West Africa, where a decade of negotiations has finally reached a critical milestone. West African leaders have formally endorsed a legal and governance framework for the Nigeria-Morocco Atlantic Gas Pipeline. This is a massive infrastructure project, estimated to cost $25 billion, designed to span 6,000 kilometers along the Atlantic coast. The plan involves moving natural gas through 14 different nations, eventually linking into the European gas network via Spain. If construction begins as planned in 2028, the pipeline is intended to transport 30 billion cubic meters of gas annually, serving an estimated 400 million consumers. For Nigeria, the project represents a way to monetize its vast gas reserves and provide energy for regional industries like manufacturing and power generation. However, the scale of the project brings significant complexity. Because the route follows the coastline to avoid the insecure Sahel region, engineers face the high costs and technical difficulties of subsea construction. Beyond the engineering, the project faces a landscape of economic and political risk. Inflation and the logistical challenge of maintaining stability across 14 different borders are major concerns. There is also the question of long-term demand, as Europe continues its transition toward renewable energy. The appetite for large-scale gas infrastructure remains a point of uncertainty. Finally, this pipeline will have to compete with other major export routes, including liquefied natural gas projects and the Trans-Saharan pipeline through Algeria. Moving to the media sector, a major consolidation in the entertainment industry has hit a significant legal wall. A U.S. federal judge has issued a temporary restraining order that pauses the proposed $111 billion merger between Paramount-Warner Bros. Discovery. While the Department of Justice had previously cleared the deal, this new ruling from U.S. District Judge Araceli Martinez Holguin comes in response to a lawsuit filed by a dozen states. The states argue that allowing 2 of the 5 remaining major Hollywood studios to merge would stifle competition in theatrical movie releases, blockbuster films, and cable television. Paramount has defended the merger by pointing to the intense competition from streaming giants like Netflix, Apple, and Amazon. However, the judge's ruling suggests that the rise of streaming does not negate the concerns regarding market share in traditional theatrical distribution. The stakes for the companies involved are high. If the merger is not finalized by June 2027, Paramount faces substantial financial penalties, including required payments to Warner Bros. Shareholders. The deal also remains subject to a review by the FCC, which is currently examining concerns regarding increased foreign ownership in the combined entity. Finally, we turn to the United Kingdom, where a significant shift in the Treasury is unfolding alongside a mounting crisis in public utilities. John Healey has been named the new Chancellor of the Exchequer, taking over for Rachel Reeves under Prime Minister Andy Burnham. Healey's appointment comes after his high-profile resignation as Defence Secretary last month. At the time, he argued that the government's defence investment plan was insufficient to meet rising global threats. As Chancellor, Healey now holds the keys to the nation's spending, and he is expected to work closely with Prime Minister Burnham on shared priorities like reindustrialisation and driving economic growth. This political transition comes at a sensitive time for the UK economy. In his first speech, Prime Minister Burnham promised measures to help with the cost of living, including a potential review of the tax-free personal allowance. While the government has pledged not to raise income tax, national insurance, or VAT, there is ongoing debate about other revenue streams, such as changes to property or capital gains taxes. One of the most contentious issues facing this new administration is the future of the UK's water utilities, specifically Thames Water. The company is currently facing a severe financial squeeze, with approximately £20 billion in debt and a projected cash shortfall of £2 billion by the end of next year. There is a growing standoff between the government and the company's lenders. Previously, creditors proposed a deal to write off £9.4 billion of debt in exchange for leniency on future pollution fines. But the government rejected that proposal, citing the need to protect consumers and the environment. Now, as Prime Minister Burnham explores bringing essential services under public control to keep them affordable, a legal battle is looming. Lenders have indicated that if the government moves to nationalise the utility, they will pursue full payment for all outstanding debts. This leaves the UK facing a difficult choice. If the government intervenes to secure water services, it may be the taxpayers who ultimately foot the bill for the company's massive debt obligations. As governments move to intervene in essential services and energy markets, the tension between public interest and private debt remains the defining economic challenge of the season.